If you're still watching, it means you're interested and inspired, or it means you might be calling Child Protective Services. At any rate, there were a few more steps Rowan and I had to take. Now, whether you take these steps really depends on your intent for taking your young one in the backcountry. If you just want to take them out for a little exploratory mission, you could probably skip some of these. But our intent was to build decision-making capacity, the ability to read terrain, make good judgment, maybe not make the final call on skiing, but at least be able to start to recognize hazards, develop strategies to avoid them, and develop decision-making skills that would translate both into skiing inbounds and doing free ski competitions. So on that, what we had to do was start to test and explore and figure out what Rowan's terrain evaluation skills were like. So a little bit of self-assessment, but also the ability to read maps and terrain, and you can certainly do that inbounds. We're fortunate to live near an area that has plenty of inbounds off-map terrain that has unmarked hazards, has tough route finding challenges. So between a topographical map and a guidebook, we sat down and we looked at some routes, and I let Rowan identify the hazards like gullies, hazards like trees, cliffs, you name it, bluffs, no fall zones, be able to point them out, be able to figure out what the consequences were if we had a mistake in there, whether we had a fall or had to stop and back out, or if we got lost, figure out if those were acceptable consequences and figure out strategies to mitigate the risks, whether it was pick the right conditions or avoid them altogether. I stood back. I acted as if we would ski whatever he chose. I'm happy to say there were a couple of lines that I picked, or I suggested to him that he was able to identify a no-go hazard, and his own choice was not to ski that. And of course I would have never taken him there, but I was pretty happy that he decided that on his own. So being able to pick out risks, whether you're in the backcountry looking at them, whether you're inbounds looking at them, or whether you're trying to find them on a map, is a pretty important skill as someone evolves in skiing, whether it's in the backcountry or into competition.